You're listening to Dear Gen Z, real stories, raw advice, and timeless lessons from the generations before us. Each week, we sit down with someone who's lived a little longer to bring you insights on life, love, purpose, and everything in between. Because sometimes the best advice doesn't come from social media. It comes from those who've been there.
Hey guys, welcome to Dear Gen Z. I'm your host, Nik Modi, and today we have a topic that not only applies to Gen Z, but really to anyone. My guest today is Nik Modi, the Managing Director and Head of Consumer Research at RBC Capital Markets, who also happens to be my father and is not only one of the most hardworking and successful people that I know, but also one of the laziest people I know. So, Dad, thanks for joining me.
You bet.
Surprised you got out of bed to join me. Got off the TV. But I wanted to talk to you about this because you work a lot and you're in finance, knowing that you can get like 80-hour work weeks, 100-hour work weeks. You're always traveling, but then you always find the time just to lay down on the couch for like 4 hours at a time and binge watch an entire series on Netflix. So that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because it all comes down to one thing in my head, and that's the power of planning, right? Being able to plan out your day, plan out your life, plan out your goals. So I wanted to talk to you today about that, just to learn about how do you plan out your day and how do you like block off time to be able to ensure that you can get everything you need to get done, but then also enjoy yourself and relax.
Yeah, no, it's look, it took me some time to figure it out. So I'm really excited to be able to share this with, young people that are coming up and, trying to build their lives. So the way I really think about it is in 4 buckets, right? And, I think it's important that we talk about what's going on and how to plan near-term stuff, but you can't really put an effective plan on near-term stuff if you don't have a long-term vision, right? And part of why I don't overdo it with work is I know exactly where I want to go and where I want to be. And sometimes you hit those levels, and so you can kind of reprioritize your time.
Right.
I say, hey, look, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve at work, and I'm operating at a very high level. Now it's time for me to spend raising my boys and spending time with my boys, and of course, watching the next Star Wars series on Disney Plus. Like that's, right. We have to prioritize. So the way I think about it is really in 4 buckets. I'm happy to talk about all 4. The first is you got to visualize. You got to visualize where you want to be. Like what do you want your life to look like? The second thing is then you got to prioritize what's important to you. Now, what's important to you today may not be what's important to you tomorrow. For instance, when I was young and your age, I was in very good shape, very healthy, didn't have any problems. So health and wellness was not a number 1 priority for me. Like I didn't overemphasize it in my life. Now I'm almost 50 years old, a little bit of a different story. Put on some weight, start seeing high cholesterol.
Lost all your hair.
Lost all my hair. So now health and wellness has become my number 1 priority. So visualize, then you have to prioritize. Then you got to organize, okay? You got your kind of goals. Now you got to figure out how it all works together and how you put it together. Not day to day, but hey, this year versus this month versus this day versus this hour. And we'll talk about that, how important planning by hour is. And then the last is realize. You got to go then execute. Putting everything on paper and having a plan is great, but you got to put it you got to operationalize it, right?
Right. So you use health and wellness as an example, and you brought up a couple of days ago after you had your doctor's appointment and whatever, that you said you wanted to lose a certain amount of weight by the next physical or in a couple of months. But then you said something interesting, how you wanted to lose a certain amount each day, and you want to make sure you accomplish those things each day. So how does that apply to, let's say, school or getting your college work done or even your job?
Yeah. So the way I thought about it is like I literally have to lose 30 pounds and I want to lose it by my 50th birthday, which is in April. So right. I got 8 months. Okay. And so how do you think about that? 8 times 4 is 32, right? So if I lose a pound a week, I will hit my goal. Right. Well, how do you get to a pound a week? Well, if I lose 0.15 pounds a day, I'll get to 1 pound a week. Sometimes you like have these, I want to lose this much weight, and then you kind of get discouraged because it's such you're like in such a hole.
Because
Like
you're thinking, you're like, oh, I've only lost 1 pound. I
yeah,
got
exactly.
29
It's
left.
like I got 29 left. Oh my God, I can't eat this chocolate bar I wanted to eat, or I can't have that glass of wine.
Right.
So like when you really think about it daily, A, it creates consistency. And B, it makes it a much more achievable goal, right? Now, what I've learned and what's really helped me organize and really create that free time for myself is I plan my day by the half hour.
Half hour, okay.
Right? So I have a planner. I mean, it's old school, but it works for me. People your generation might use their smartphone or whatever.
I go through the notes app.
Right. So I write it down and I just basically say, all right, I wake up at 6, right? That's usually when I wake up. 6, 7, 8, 9, and I split it 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30. And I literally write down first on the side what I need to accomplish that day.
Right.
The health and wellness goals are part of that. So that means I got to put in a workout sometime during that day. I got to make sure I drink a certain amount of water. I got to make sure I take a walk or whatever after dinner, right? So then I know exactly what my priorities are for the day. And then I can list based on what my schedule looks like, where I can slot everything. Now, the good thing for me is being as senior as I am, I have the liberty of being a little bit more flexible in my day. So if I say, all right, well, look, I got all this stuff to do and I got to work out. Well, I'm just going to slot in. I'm prioritizing working out. So I'm putting that right where I have the most amount of energy, and I'm going to plan the rest of the day around that. Right. For younger people, you might not have that flexibility, but it still doesn't mean you don't plan.
You just have to find another time to be able, you have to fit your personal goals around your work.
Right. Exactly. So let's say you have, you want to work out, but you got it's a crazy time at work. Right. Well, if you know what you got to get done, you'll make sure you execute what you got to execute. And then you'll realize, oh, wait a second, I can take a break. Let's say you're working late. I can take a break between 6 and 7 so I can go to the gym. And then I'm refreshed. I come back and I finish my job. Right. But if you're just working, what I call frog in boiling water, where it's like, you don't take a step back and say wait, I have to accomplish all these things.
Right. You're just head down into a task.
You'll lose sight of everything. And then, honestly, that's what kind of happened with me with my health and wellness. I got so caught up in work and trying to be with you guys and make sure you're on the right track and spending time with your mom, and her and I have so much fun together. You kind of lose track of health and wellness sometimes. Right. And so now I'm kind of getting back to it, but the routine, the planning, it is so important, and it's really helped me keep on track.
Right. And so you mentioned consistency and routine. And so obviously, as we know, Gen Z, it's like a big age gap, right? You got 1997 to 2012, and a good batch of us are going off to college, and a good amount are still going in high school too. And what I've heard from so many people is time management is is the number one thing you got to work on before you go into high school or go into college, because you have all that free time. So do you recommend getting into that habit of planning way back when you're younger, let's say middle school or age 10, really early on, so then you can develop that pattern and get it going, so it's just oh, okay, I'm going to plan my day out on a Sunday?
Absolutely. And what's funny is when you were in middle school, you actually did have that. It's just we didn't write it down, but it was all sports. Right.
It's so organized and structured. That's why I think it's harder when you go to college, right?
Absolutely.
It's so structured. You have school, high school, you're going to school 8 to 3 every day. Then you got your sport afterwards till 5. Then you go home, eat dinner, do homework, go to bed, right?
Yeah.
College is so different because I just got my schedule, and I have a class 10 to 12 and then a class 6 to 8 p.m. And I have a 6-hour break in the middle of the day. So it's just whoa, what the hell am I going to do? It's so easy just to get lost.
Yep.
And be oh, I'm going to take a 3-hour nap, and then
or I'm just going to doom scroll, which is a big problem,
yeah.
right?
And that's why you were telling me the other day, you're no, figure it out now. What time you're going to go to the gym, what time you're going to get your homework done, what time you're going to eat your meals, what time you're going to do this and that. And I feel that is just so important. And we have to learn when we're younger, because you've had me doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
Planning out my days. And I haven't been consistent about it until now. And I just feel I'm so much more efficient, because I know what I want to do. So you just break it down.
That's the key, is breaking it down, being efficient, but having a broader plan, right? So, and you can be flexible. Let's say You're like, look, I have all these things I got to do. I got to study for this exam. I got this project. I got this interview I have to prepare for an internship interview.
Right.
And you plan well in advance, right? You'll have less anxiety, right? It's like, remember, like cramming for an exam.
Oh my God, cramming for the SATs or the AP exams was awful. I would cram, macroeconomics. I did 2 days of studying, and I think I did 6 hours a day.
It's painful.
It was bad.
Like,
I was
why would you
listening
do
to
that?
YouTube videos on the way to soccer practice.
Yeah, like why would anyone want to do that? You do that because you don't think about planning it out, right? It's not that people want to study 6 hours. Like, who the heck wants to do that? No one wants to. You just do that because you lose track of your priorities.
Right.
That's why it's so important. So, like, I remember when I graduated college and I started working, I actually put a 10-year plan together.
Right.
Now, it sounds ridiculous, right? I actually got pretty close, but the point about having a 10-year plan is not this is exactly what my life is going to look like. The point is to give you almost like a compass or a treasure map, right? To get to the treasure.
Right.
It's like, imagine if I said, okay, here, go from here and get to Plano, Texas, walking. And I didn't give you a map, a GPS, a compass, or anything. You would you would have no idea where you're going. You would be really inefficient. You would get lost. You'd probably die.
Probably, yeah.
So the reality is, like, we all need a treasure map to guide us. And when we have a longer term vision, then we can make better choices near term, right? Then you're not wasting strokes and wasting time.
Right. And when making that 10-year plan, do you recommend to overshoot? Like, okay, make these goals like high, so like I can go and achieve the most I can? Or do you recommend maybe undershooting and underestimating like what you can do in a 10-year span? And then after you, like, let's say you get done with your 10 years in like 6, you're like, okay, now I can readjust.
Yeah, I never want to say don't overshoot, because I think that's how you test yourself and that's how you really push your limits.
Right.
But what I would say is always build in cushion.
Cushion,
right? Like, don't say, okay, well, I'm going to do this and give yourself 1 year when realistically that's just like not very probable. But if you give yourself 2 years, you might be able to accomplish it in 20 months or 22 months, right? So like build in cushion. But, if you really think about, like, I have 2 formulas for living a happy life, right? Choice equals happiness.
Mm-hmm.
The more choice you have, the happier you are, because then you get to pick. You're not stuck with one thing, right? Think about applying to colleges. If you just got into one college and you really didn't want to go to that college, you would not really be that happy. But if you had a variety of options like you did, then you can choose and you can make the best decision for yourself, right? The other equation is reality minus expectations. And that's where creating too high a goal that is not realistic can really lead to negative consequences, right? Because let's think about it. Reality minus expectations. If your expectation is higher than the reality, that's negative.
It's negative and it's not good, right?
But if your expectation is above the reality, that's positive. And that's really reflects on how you're going to feel.
So you're saying if you don't do the planning for the long term and even the short term, because the short term like adds up into the long term. So you're saying if you don't do the planning there, you're not going to be able to have the choice. Like if I were, like I applied to 20 plus colleges and I had to plan out, okay, I'm going to do this Common App essay, this one. If I didn't do that and I left it all for the same day, I would have only ended up applying to 4 schools, 5 schools.
Correct.
So then I wouldn't have had the choice because I would have had less to choose from. But then also the expectations in reality, if you don't plan, you're going to expect too much or even too little of yourself, which will screw up your happiness based on the reality, right?
Yeah, it's really playing chess, right?
Right.
Like when you play chess, that's why I always say checkers versus chess. When you play chess, you're always thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. Well, you can't do that unless you actually think about those steps. Right? There's no chess master just goes there and automatically becomes a chess master. They have thought about it. They have thought about it strategically, right? And so that's the way I think everyone needs to think about their life, no matter how old they are. Right now, it's hard to get a 10-year-old like sit down and plan out your day, right? I get that.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you're in high school, like time management. When you get to college, and trust me, all of you listening, about to go to college, I hope you remember what I say, because when you go to college, you will realize, like, what the heck just happened? No one is telling me what to do.
Right.
No one is telling me to wake up. You don't even have to go to class. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Do you want to speak on your like experience with that a little bit? Because from the stories you tell me, and haven't confirmed it anywhere, but the stories you tell me, you lived it up at college, but you also squandered most of it. Would you say that?
I would say I squandered most of high school.
Right.
And part of college.
So just speak on that a little bit and how, like, if you had learned time management efficiently before, how that would have been different, and just also explain like what actually happened.
First of all, I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Right. You went into college for bio?
I was a biochemistry major. I thought I was supposed to be a doctor like every Indian kid that in that time of life, right? I went to Rutgers University, and I didn't want to be a doctor, right? I went to organic chemistry, and I remember crying every day because it was such a miserable class.
Or actually, if you like organic chemistry, then something might be wrong with you because it is awful. But
no offense to the organic chemists listening.
No offense, but it sucks.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do, and luckily I had a friend who had a dad who was big in the stock market, and I learned from him, and I found it fascinating, and that's really what got me going. And then I'm like, wait a second, I'm so behind. See, I started planning out of necessity, survival, because I switched majors and I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm not gonna go to med school. I got to get a job after college. And so I started wait a second, I got to plan for this. What do I got to do? And I knew at that time, 30 years ago, Rutgers kids were not being recruited for front-end Wall Street jobs. Now it's a different story. But that wasn't the case 30 years ago. So I had to come up with innovative ways. So I created an organization that got literally free internships at all the big investment banks and equity research. That's how I got my job. Had I not planned, had I not thought about it, I don't know if I would be in the situation I'm in right now.
Right. And it's never too late to start either.
No.
Because just talk about your average college day before you actually focused on what you wanted to do and started planning.
Listen, this is what I would do. I would wake up at 10.
And is this which day of the week is this?
This is every day.
Just every day?
Yeah. The weekend I would wake up at 1 because I was out till probably 9 in the morning. But I would wake up at 10. I would probably miss my first class just because
no one told you to go.
No one told me to go. Then I would maybe go to class, the 11 o'clock class. Then I would have a massive lunch. The grease trucks at the time, or where else would I go?
Just talk about what that grease truck sandwich is, by the way, because I had one, and I think I ate 4 bites of it before wanting to throw up.
Yeah, so the grease truck sandwich, it was called the Fat Cat. Right. It was a hoagie, a big hoagie roll with 2 hamburger patties, French fries, mozzarella sticks, chicken fingers, ketchup, and hot sauce.
Just thinking of that makes my heart, I get heartburn just thinking of it.
I'm actually surprised I'm still alive because I would eat one of those every day and then pass out for a nap and then miss my other 2 classes.
And then you would end up going out after that.
Yes, and then that would be in the evening. Now, I would go to the Sunny Warblin Recreational Center and play some basketball with my buddies, and then we would come back, get ready, eat dinner, and then go out. So that's really what my day consisted of.
And you get nothing done doing that.
I got nothing done.
Absolutely
I didn't study. I'm surprised I even graduated college. In fact, I didn't graduate on time. I failed business law my senior year. I had to take it over the summer to graduate. So look, I'm not a good example, but I think that makes me a good presenter for this audience because don't do what I did.
Because he's been through both ends of the spectrum. You didn't plan, and I mean, it probably was awesome in the time, but it probably sucks now you think about it. But then you're also so organized now to where you can get your work done by 4 p.m. and then do literally nothing for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So you know what it's like on both ends.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first one is fun, but it doesn't really get you anywhere.
No, I mean, and honestly, when I look back on that time, I could have just done more stuff. I was just so lazy because I didn't have a plan, and all I was doing is hanging out with people. But I could have acquired new skills. I could have learned how to golf. I mean, I could have done so many things that, in retrospect, as you get older, you're like, God, I wasted a whole 4 years, being really unproductive. Now, at the time, it felt fine, and it was great at the time, right? But you never want to live with regret, and that's one regret I have is that I didn't plan. I didn't use my time more effectively.
Right. So we're almost out of time for this episode, but I just wanted to get your one big piece of advice on planning, just in general. Like, what is one thing you think that us as Gen Zers need to know as we get into these next stages of our life, no matter what it is, college, your first job, high school, middle school, etc.?
Take the time to just take a step back, kind of almost have an out-of-body experience,
right,
and just think about what you want out of your life. Like, how many people really take the time to do that?
Not many at all.
Right. You're always doing stuff, or you're scrolling your phones, right?
Right.
Take the time, take a deep breath. What do I want out of my life? What do I want this to look like? What do I like? I hear what my parents are. Do I want to have a life just like my parents? Not my parents? Maybe some other people I know. Like, find a benchmark,
right,
create a goal, and then take a step back and say, all right, how am I going to go get there, and put in real tangible steps? And then look for advice. Talk to people like myself, or your parents, or your uncles, or your friends' parents, or even your older friends. And then they can help you put your strategy together. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Right. And just from my experience, like this planning stuff, 5 minutes a day?
Pretty much.
You literally look at your calendar.
And you clear your mind. That's the beauty is that 5-minute investment in the morning will literally save you probably 1 to 2 hours of inefficiency.
Because then you're not like I had just planned on my day, and it almost feels like not real, because I plan out my day, get all my stuff done by 3. I'm like, all right, what am I doing next? And then I'm like, oh shit, I got nothing going on. Like, I can go to the gym, I can go hang out with friends. Like, I feel so much more efficient.
Yeah.
And feel like I can just enjoy myself a little bit
and
more.
You don't feel guilt. That's the key.
No, I don't feel guilt, because what would happen, like sophomore year, for example, I didn't plan anything out. And then I would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to study for my chem test next week. Yeah, test is in 5 days. I'll study for it tomorrow. No, it's tomorrow. I'll study for it in the morning. And then I would never study, get a 50% on the test, and then be like, shit.
Yeah, those weren't fun conversations. I remember those conversations.
Oh my God, I was scared to come down from the room every morning, because I thought I was like,
you're bigger than I am.
I was like, please, I hope to God you guys did not check the grade book last night. And then it was always Mom. She'd be like, and I was like,
oh, that look, yeah, you don't want that look.
No, that is
even I don't like that look. Yeah.
But anyways, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you for talking on this topic.
Happy to help.
And thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys took something away, and come back next week for our next episode.